Tuesday, February 11th. I'm going to call the Selectmen's meeting to order. First order of business is to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Review and approval of the minutes. The first set of minutes is the public Monday, February 3rd at 8:45. Any changes, alterations?
I didn't see anything.
Editorial
I'm all
comment?
set.
You good, Lloyd?
I'm all set.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The second set of minutes is the non-public at exactly the same time. No, February 3rd. Yeah. At 8:45.
Move approval. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the non-public at 11:45 on February 3rd.
I think you're all set on those.
We are?
Oh, I apologize. I'm wrong. Sorry.
I'm all set. Move approval. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Appointments. Christy Sarles, come on down, or stay where you are.
All right. Well, as you can see, there's not too much to report so far this year. We're maybe 300 off last January, but we were also open 22 fewer hours, so that makes a big difference. Things are going really well at the building. I don't know if you've been by lately, but they've started to put the new windows in the old building, so that's happening. The addition is pretty much cleaned up, and we are beginning to move things into it.
The heat's on?
The heat has been on for a while, yeah.
Okay.
We're still not switched over completely, but that's coming. And we are going to be closing from Saturday, February 22nd through Tuesday, March 3rd. We will reopen March 4th, and we're going to use that time to move everything pretty much from the old building into the addition. We will have sign-up sheets for volunteers at the desk this week and next week, and we are taking delivery of a series of 32 rolling book stacks that we will be able to just take a shelf of books off.
Are we renting those?
Yes, we're renting those from an outfit called Rent-A-Crate.
Nice.
They are 36-inch wide shelves, 8 inches deep, 2 sides, 4 shelves on a side, and 36 inches is the standard library stack shelf. So we'll be able to take a shelf of books off, put it on the rolling stack, and then roll it. It will be using the new meeting room for that, so we won't be able to have programs in there for a couple of months until we can move everything back into the old building. So, going well.
So you had $8,982 or $8,698, I'm sorry, in donations?
In the building fund, yes.
And that was all directed to the building fund?
Well, yeah, you can see down under the allocations.
Yeah.
So building fund was $8,698.70.
So,
And that was all the donations, yes.
and they were all,
It was all building fund.
who makes that decision?
The people who give the money.
Okay.
And one of it was a payment of a pledge, a second payment on a pledge. We have about $34,000 outstanding in pledges, which we expect to collect by the end of April.
Great.
The next building team meeting is Thursday at 10. And we've been talking to the the man who is Resilient Buildings, who are doing the commissioning. And they are preparing to do a building training for us that we, would be happy to invite you all to if you would like to participate. It'll be all the staff, all the trustees, someone from the fire department, someone from the police department, and probably Jack. And you guys, if you would like me to let you know when it's happening, you would be more than welcome to come. Apparently it has to be videotaped. Murray's going to do that for us, and then everyone who needs one will get a thumb drive full of everything, and it will also have all of the schematics, so that anytime anything goes wrong, we can just plug in the thumb drive and circle where we think the problem is and send it to whoever needs to come and do something about it.
And are the installers also involved, like the heating and electric people?
I don't know if they come to the training or not. That's a good question. I know that the person who is doing all the mechanicals is going to be our maintenance guy for the next year or so, and then we'll hire him.
So he should come to the training.
Probably. He knows where everything is because he put it in, but yes.
I won't be able to go on Thursday. I've got an appointment in Hanover. I don't know if one of you guys wants to go.
I think Jack knows about it. He was at the last one.
Well, you've got a building meeting on Thursday, right?
Oh yeah, the training's not Thursday.
Right.
Not yet.
Right. So, I can go.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can be there. I can't go this Thursday to your building meeting, so I was just saying that to my brothers.
Okay.
Great. And anything else?
We have started charging our temporary Wolfboro patrons, and several of them are actually opting to stick with Tuftonboro and pay the $30. So that's kind of interesting.
How much are we charging them?
$30, just like we.
Oh, to sign up?
Yeah, just like we charge any out of towner now. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to ask about the Hurlburt Fund. Have you guys set up some kind of new regulations or something?
Well, it's not a regulation. At our last meeting, where we made some decisions, we eliminated virtually everybody that didn't ask. So we want to get into specific asks from organizations, and
I wish we had known. We didn't know we had to ask because we never have.
Right. And sometimes we'll tell you and then not you particularly. But the other thing that we're thinking about doing and moving towards is big deals. In other words, do more scholarship, and then more, because we all give to with 68 Hours of Hunger and all those other places. All the towns do that. So rather than the Hurlburt just throwing in another $500, we're thinking about looking for some bigger project on an annual basis to drive that forward a little more. So that's kind of where we've only had 2 meetings, so it's not as if we've come up with fixed policies.
Okay.
But we didn't fund anybody that was like the Wolfboro Library. We didn't give them any money.
I know. So we have $1,000 in our budget for this year that we anticipated getting from the Hurlburt Fund. So when do we need to ask for that?
You probably need to get your ask together by June. Okay.
And should that come to you?
It should come either to me or to. You can send it to me in care of the Hurlburt Trust, and then I'll take it into the next meeting.
Okay.
We're going to meet again. I think we're meeting again in March, but then we're going to meet again in June.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
And you're not the only victim.
Well, when you're used
I think it got a little loose-ended. Just look at it from our perspective for a second. It got a little loose-ended in that it was just plugging money at things that were town-funded or funded additionally by towns. I mean, it's sort of like when I was at the county, we had an ask from Blue Loon. And I knew Blue Loon was asking every town for money. Well, if you're asking every town for money, then you don't get to go again at the county. You know, it seems to be,
Yeah, we just used it to offset expenses.
yeah, I don't think you guys were running away with the money. We just needed to focus a little more.
No, that's fine. And we also, I think twice, we got $5,000 for the building fund specifically.
Sure. And that's, I think,
And that was really useful.
that's more the intention I think we're trying to go towards. So that if you were gonna, I don't know, upgrade to fiber optic or do something big, then you'd ask for funding for that in particular.
Okay. Are you gonna have a form, or do you just want a letter saying, here's what we anticipate, here's what we...
We haven't got enough form together, so yeah, if you've got a particular ask,
Well, it's in a particular spot in the budget, so I guess
Well-
that's what we would ask for.
all right.
Let's
Let's chat. Okay.
Sure.
I mean, it's a little more than the selectmen meeting should be. so.
Okay, just wanted to check and see
Yeah.
if, you know, because I just want to miss a deadline. Okay. You guys
Yeah,
have
it's
any?
really not a part of this forum, so why don't you and I chat?
That's fine.
Okay.
I think you already know about it, but Clay has had the first pickup from the book repository,
Great.
you know, that way.
Terrific.
You can get people up that direction. He's done a good job.
Great. I'm glad to hear it. Pretty soon we'll have space to start collecting books again ourselves, so it'll be nice. Another source of income.
Yeah.
Speaking of books, I've come across 2 sets of books. One in this building that's been stored in a closet. Okay, could,
I've looked at those.
anything that needs to be saved,
No,
anything of value.
no.
And there's a similar thing, a bookshelf upstairs where Dennis Zalambo's office is. And there's town reports there, but there's also duplicates of those books.
No, those are the state laws, right? The statutes?
No, what they are is when the minutes of the legislature used to be hardbound,
No, I don't think we need those.
okay?
The Historical Society might be
What I'm
interested.
doing is, you're the first one I'm checking with. I'm checking with as many people as possible. I just don't want to go and throw something out that,
Town reports we definitely keep, but,
that you might want to take a look. I think they're on the bottom shelf, and there's quite an array of them.
of the legislature ones?
Town reports.
I think we've got a good run. I think it starts in 1898 or something,
Okay,
but I'll look again.
okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Think spring.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Christie.
Okay.
Thanks, Christie. Okay, the next is Jack. Is he here? Jack Passons. Oh.
I think we're a little early too.
We're early?
Just a few.
All right, then let's do the signature file. Okay. First item for signature is the town warrant.
Hey,
Hi, Clay.
Come on in.
Am I late?
Yes. Oh, you're not late.
Really. Have we all reviewed the town warrant?
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion to sign it.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. There's a plan here from New Hampshire Electric Co-op to add a pole down on Chase Point. You all seen that?
Yes. Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And got a plea for abeyance on the block grant money, a waiver for publication, because our newspaper comes out once a week. So the CDFA, Community Development Finance Authority, we're asking them for a waiver from daily publication.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and that's just one signature. Order Office Machines has got a new contract for us on our Konica copier.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This is again just one signature. And we've got a yield tax levy for map and lot 6220 through 60-2-20 through 60-2-23. $438.
What's the amount?
$438.51.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So that's the last of it. All right. I guess we'll go to Jim Bean first. Mr. Bean,
Morning.
how's your highway coming?
Well, busy.
Keeps driving snow every day or every other day.
Yeah. Oh, ice, one of the two, right?
Yeah.
It's a little expensive.
Yeah. So since January 1st of 2020, we have been called out to either plow or treat 20 times already this year. And more ice than normal for January. We've had a lot of rain, freezing rain. And it's spotty between, being up in upper elevations to down here. It can be rain down here and ice up there. In between plowing, we've been hauling in winter sand, mixing with salt, opening up the drainage ways before the rainstorms, and pushing back the snowbanks. We also started cutting some of the dead trees along the roadsides, and we cut back the parking lot outside here of the townhouse because it was
noticed that. Yeah.
growing in quite badly. I don't think it's been done in a long time. And
That's what happens.
Yep.
You don't cut those keep cutting those trees back, they just take over.
Yeah, they do. They were leaning in. A lot of birch trees and stuff were leaning in. But that's about all we've been doing since the last time I saw you.
And I don't know if you ever gave us a report. Did you give us a report on Willand Road?
I did.
Okay.
Yep. You don't have that?
Oh, if it's here, I'll find it.
I'm kind of thinking you're going to, in order to get a good look at it, snow's got to be gone and everything to begin with, right?
So that was my biggest problem was, when I got there to look at it,
Yeah.
I really couldn't see the depth of the gravel. My recollection was that it did not have a lot of gravel on it, that you could find good sized rocks. And when you're trying to grade, you need small stone in there, not the large stuff that could just produce havoc when you're trying to grade. But without checking it in the springtime, we won't really know. That would take a fair amount of gravel if we did have to gravel the whole thing. That would be substantial. The other thing I wasn't able to really see was all the drainage. Snowbanks were plowed off, and I couldn't see at all what the drainage looks like. Or the culverts. I really couldn't get in. Couldn't even see a lot of the culverts. They're just buried in snow. So I wasn't able to check that. But what I did notice was down at the bottom, it's actually two hills, meet in a low spot, and it drops off pretty steeply on one side. And it was narrow, only 15 feet wide. Most of the road was only 15 feet wide from what I could see. And there was no guardrails down there, and that seems like it would be a must, you know, in an area like that. You'd want guardrails in a low spot. If somebody was to slide down that hill, they're gonna end up in that little ravine for sure. And as we already know, as we all know this, that might be a good candidate to pave that road, because it's certainly going to be cheaper to maintain a dirt road on a hill with pavement than it will be with gravel over the long run.
That's what Wolfboro's done.
That's a smart idea. You know, that's a perfect candidate for it right there. But it would need to be widened out first.
Yeah, we need to
Do
do
culverts, new ditch lines, and then we pave it. And it would, again, probably do the base coat, then next year you do the top coat.
Okay. And this end of Dame Road is gonna be done this summer?
So what we have scheduled already for this June is to do North Line, the paved section North Line from one end to the other, to be ground and paved, base coat. And the top section of Dame Road, where we left off on Dame Road to Ledge Hill, near Hams Hill. We have a price to do the bottom, but we didn't really actually figure that in the budget. That was about,
In case
I mean,
somebody asked.
it seems
Yes.
like that's the part that's getting the worst. This
it's all
time of
bad.
year.
I don't know, you've probably been over it enough, you know, it's
Yeah.
all bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, except for the section that we did pave.
right,
That's why we did part of that this year.
right.
So we have that price, but it was $125,000 for the grinding. That doesn't include any ditch work, any rock removal, or any culverts.
Okay.
Well, that's what we asked for, in case someone at town meeting asked.
Yeah.
Yep.
So realistically, I think we're talking probably closer to $150,000 if we want to do that lower section. And that's the longest section.
And I haven't been over it, but I've heard from several people that the lower section seems to be worse than the upper section now.
Now it is, currently.
Right.
And I think that's just a factor of the winter.
Yeah.
So we should, how much of that $150,000 can we plug in to this year to get ready for next year? And let's say we do it in 2021, do the grind and pave. Is there any of the drainage or
So the drainage, and
that sort of thing that we can get done this year?
yeah, the culverts, the drainage, any tree removal, that kind of stuff could be done. The culverts, I'm not 100% sure where we're at with the culverts in that area, but
Okay,
I think we can get that all done.
yeah. And do the drainage severe enough so that we don't have this heaving thing when we repave it, hopefully.
That was our intention on the area we did,
Yeah,
but we ran into ledge very quickly, so it became tough to get it any deeper than we have it. It's a lot of ledge up near the top of that sharp corner area.
all right. Anything else for James there, Lloyd?
Yes, could I make copies of the sand that we bought so far this year? First of all, I don't want to ambush you.
Okay.
Okay. We have two vendors. We deal with Ossipee Aggregates and Green Oak Realty.
Yes.
Where is their sand pit?
Green Oaks,
Yep.
it's in Ospey. It's near the intersection of 20, it's near Dunkin' Donuts by 28 in an intersection. The problem, and I like using them, but they ran out. Every town was in there and they got depleted quickly, and then there was just big chunks of frozen stuff left, so we had to go to Ospey.
Well, it also makes sense to have two vendors just in case, like that. This is not a criticism of you, but I can't make sense of their bill. It talks $6.95 per ton, $15.88 per yard, $6.60. It talks about 2 loads times 24 yards, 3 loads times 16 yards equals 72, which their math is not correct at 885. Can I make copies of this and you and I review it sometime?
We can. And
Okay,
I-
this is not any ambush.
Yeah, and I can explain it to you too when you have
Yes.
time, but I know how it got there. I understand what they did.
You understand the business end of it, I just,
Well, that's not a typical way that it should be done, but
Do they have a scale?
they do have a scale when they have somebody that's in the office. And when somebody's not in the office, the guy keeps track of it by the yard in the loader.
Which is a lot less accurate.
yeah.
Well, I feel we get a much better deal, to be honest with you.
We probably do get a better.
I know we do for a fact.
Well, if you pay by the ton, you're paying for water.
Correct, you can. And
That's what other vendors tell me.
And when he puts 14 yards in there, we know we have at least 14 yards,
I've
if
heard
not
the same
16.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Anything else for our road agent?
The frost heaves are coming up early this year.
And we have that warm weather.
Right. And I'm wondering if we're going to maybe be in a position where you need to post the roads earlier.
If we do close the roads early, that means we have to open them up early. If there is a window that you have, that you gotta, I believe it.
That means when?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't have any answer. I'm just, we post the roads to protect them when they're most vulnerable, right?
Correct.
As they're falling.
Yep.
And given that we've had kind of a weird cycle this year, or seems weird to me, my thought is it might affect the posting time. But
It could, but again, we do work with the other towns around us.
yeah,
So we're probably gonna discuss it together, and some of the roads will be, bad shape in one area and great shape in the other. That's how they dry out. They don't all dry out at the same time. But the three of us will get together usually with Osby and Wolfboro. We try to explain how our roads are doing.
Last year, a trucker pointed out to me that 2 out of our 3 towns, the 2 roads don't match up as far as weight limits.
That's true. I don't think all 3 match up really.
Can you work with them? I'm just thinking that this guy's a truck driver and is obeying the law, and one has 9, and all of a sudden he comes to the town line at 6. How does he turn around?
Back up.
It's just a thought of, no, they are businessmen and not.
No, and I understand that. I think what's happened over the years is because of the trucks have got a higher GVW for the same size truck that we've always had. The GVWs have been posted higher, so I think 2 of the towns have adjusted for that accordingly, and 1 town has not.
I tossed it out.
That's a good comment, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I can appreciate Bill's concern about the roads. There's more large chipping operations and large logging operations going on this winter, and that's gonna affect,
Yeah.
because they're running tracks, I'm sure they're running up close to 100,000 pounds on some of those loads. So that's not gonna help if the roads start getting soft.
Yeah, no, you're right. We will have to pay attention to it, but we're just going through that cycle right now. I don't know how long that's going to last, but
Well, you can't control Mother Nature.
no, I wish I could. But
And are there statewide meetings for road agents? Do you have an association or anything like that?
no, not really. But what a lot of people do is we have it's the T2. It's for a Road Scholar program,
Yeah.
and a lot of different towns go to that. We go to that to be educated and get
I'm
certified.
just thinking if you had an association, you may want to think about, I don't know if you want to get in the organization business, but the way the road closure law is currently written, it's all or nothing. It's either closed or it's open.
Well, we do allow people to, it's a road agent decision if we think that it's frozen enough. Truckers call us in the morning
Right.
or the night before,
Right.
and we say, okay, I think it's
Look,
okay,
you don't-
but you gotta be off the road by 8 o'clock or something.
Where I
like
was
that.
going is you don't have the ability to say, okay, the road is closed to anything over a gross weight of 50,000 pounds. You don't have any mid-range, so that, a large operation which might do some damage to a kind of soft road, you're closing it down for everybody, even the guy that's got the 1 ton with a chipper or the sander or whatever.
Closing for anybody that exceeds the weight limit.
Right. I mean, 6 tons isn't that much weight when you get into the truck business.
I believe we're at 9 tons, so.
Even 9, 18,000 pounds. I mean, that's,
Well, a 1-ton GVW is somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 18,000.
right. Just a thought.
Yep.
All right, anything else for our?
Yeah, you know that Mr. Eldridge has taken over on Ossipee?
Which one?
TJ.
Oh, really? No, I did not hear that.
He says if you want to stop by, because you have some roads that are contiguous with him.
Yep, that would be
Took over
probably a
for
good
Brad.
thought, actually, since we share some
And
common plowing.
who's the new guy that took his place, do you know? I didn't get his name when I stopped by.
I don't. I have not had
He'd
any.
like to talk to you.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe you can talk to him about wooden guardrails. I don't know why they have nice wooden guardrails over in Chickville Road and we can't have any, so just a thought. All right.
Just saying, you probably carry more weight than I do, so.
Right. That it?
I think so.
Hey, we'll clean the roads up, Jesus, we're sitting here for.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, the next on board is lay down Liberty. Guess we're not gonna get Jack Parsons today. That's all right.
All right, monthly totals for January.
You got my note?
Yes, so I have. Yeah, Bob's, just wanted to pass along, Bob Dean's daughter passed away. So our condolences and prayers go. The monthly totals for January are 10 solid waste compactors, 7 CD containers, and 3 plastic containers. The revenues for January approximately $5,037. You can get the details on the specific and gross wrap-up sheets.
Oh, is that the 5,000, is that include all of 2019?
No, that's nothing. That's just 2020.
So did you carry forward any?
January 2020.
Was there any
We were-
accounts receivable?
Yes, we have, obviously some plays. There's some that still haven't paid. It's probably in the neighborhood of $1,100–1,200.
Okay.
So we
But that cycles through.
had $565 in stickers in January.
Yes, I count, when I tried to get the records from the town office, and what I do is I take, when I give them 100 stickers, I take $500. And so that way I don't have to get their records from sticker revenue. That way they're all accounted for, and we don't miss any. Because they sell them in 2 or 3 different places, and there's, the administrative things, we did the Tucking River Times article that came out. Employee evaluations are done. CIP inputs are done through the system with the updated prices there. The budget for 2020 is complete through the public budget meeting. Landfill monitoring contracts complete out for bids. DES annual facility report, I'm working on that. Annual report for the town meeting is the last stapled forms that I gave you. And of interest to that, the first page is pretty familiar with. The second page is a comparison of the last 3 years, 2017, 2018, and 2019, and how many tons or linear feet or gallons that we put out. And you'll see over a period of time, when you get 4 years, 5 years, 6 years together, you'll see where it comes in, where 1 year we'll have 70 tons of cardboard, or 72 tons of cardboard. The next year we'll only have 48 tons. That's because of the overlap of the years, you know. And that happens with a couple of the commodities.
So the used oil has gone up to 725 gallons.
Again, that's the same thing. The last year we had 835 gallons. This year we had 725 gallons.
And there's no in-house use for that, or do we?
No, we don't generate enough. We did a study. They did a study before I came in on that, and you need about 2,000 gallons to make it worthwhile.
And do we sell that?
No, we're not allowed to.
Not allowed to?
We're not allowed to by DES. We
do
give
we
that
do?
to, we have it, we give it to an energy renewable company. And name escapes me right now, but it's one of the oil companies. They cycle it
Right.
and get it out, and I think they give it, they give that to low income.
Okay,
So
so it's not some profit.
Oh, no, absolutely not. We're not allowed to sell it or take it to anybody else, you know, by state law, so, and the name of the company escapes me, but it's recognizable, one of them.
But we did, you're right, we did look a number of years ago at putting in a waste oil, I'll call it a processor. It would clean the oil up to where it could be burned in our boiler. And
There are
so-
some,
and it works, but it's, I forget the cost of the equipment to do it, but it's kind of like, you know, for the relatively small volume that we have.
Right.
It just
doesn't justify it. And the logistical problem is that you have to have not just one, you still have to have a regular oil tank, you know, for backup. Then you have to have so you have to have 2 or 3 different tanks, you have to have 2 or 3 different systems, you know. And yeah, now, you know, the older ones worked a lot better. The newer ones tend not to work as good as the older ones, so.
And
But,
that company also on a regular basis cleans out your tanks, right?
About once every 5 or 6 years, we have to have the
gunks up.
tank cleaned from
The
sludge.
bottom, yeah.
Yeah, sludge and hydraulics, water, stuff like that gets mixed in with some of the oil, which we can't, you know, we just can't keep out. And the avoided cost matrix, you all have that, saw that, that's done. I'm in the process of working on a grant for the new baler. And Regina Lessard, new transfer station brochure. And we have 2 pallets of lead acid batteries waiting to go out. And that's it.
I had a couple of
And
questions.
you gave us a copy of your avoided cost matrix. Last time I remember, you were
Yes.
still working on it. I didn't.
Yes, I gave a copy of it.
Yeah, it's 33,771.
This was the handwritten one, right?
Yeah,
that was a big one.
yeah, 33,771.
Yeah, well done.
Hmm?
Nice, it's polite.
Right.
Well done.
Yep. Yep. No, I didn't remember seeing the
Yeah.
breakout on that.
Yeah, and
You have a
I
copy of
gave,
that? All
I
right.
gave it to the budget committee too.
Yeah, I'll get your number.
And looking forward to 2021, I know it's a long way away. What capital equipment are you looking to get? Do you know?
I didn't bring that book with me, but,
So, solid waste in 2021, you got nothing on CIP. And then you're looking for
Another
I think you have a
another
new,
compacted the year after.
The year after you
another
get
compactor
and the backhoe.
in the back of it.
I found that getting my addled old brain active in August on the budget made me feel a lot more comfortable getting into December and January.
Right.
So I'm thinking I might get earlier still and maybe feel absolutely at will.
Yeah, there's just a few lines in the budget that we're not gonna be able to accurately
Right,
forecast.
no, that's
And
fine
so,
too. It's just trying to get, I look at bottom line totals
Yeah,
and trying to figure out, maybe we'll do the compactor next year, or maybe we'll push it out to 2023. I
Yes.
just started feeling better.
yeah, as long as, like I said, the bottom line after last year's budget, I believe, and I don't have the exact number, but we were under about $8,000, $8,500, something like that. So it worked out in the end.
Yeah.
As long as we did an omnibus correction plan, and maybe we need to do that a little bit earlier in December, so we don't feel like, well, it's too late, we're adding too much. That's the danger of waiting,
Right.
is you get more of the tendency to say, no, we can't do that.
Right.
It's called wet ink.
Yeah.
Well, and
So it hurts the people that can't do
if the
that.
motivation is zero-based budgeting, you don't have me on board with that, because I
Yeah,
don't think that works.
Yeah.
And we do need to accumulate over time. We need to have a balanced budgeting.
Right.
Okay.
Because we do that, I mean, like the CIP is a good example. We pushed stuff back and back and back and back, waiting for the library, the police station, so you get that by default in certain things. But again, I like to just try to be as accurate as possible. There's going to be increases, and down the pike, the waste management, the solid waste disposal is going to be more than what it has been in the past.
Right.
And it's just the landfill's getting more expensive and more expensive and more expensive. So we've got a pretty good contract for the next 4 years. So I think we're in pretty good shape, but it's still gonna, push that 3% envelope.
I had a couple of questions.
Okay?
And I held off asking this because you've been so busy. Do you think that any fees need to be raised next year? I know in past years what you've tried to do is to keep, and I'll give an example, TVs, that we're not so low that we are the
Right.
dumping ground for.
Right.
Just a thought.
Yeah, I think pretty much everything is pretty good and pretty close. I think our view of the CD is pretty close. The one area that we're just gonna have to take as it comes and learn is brush. When it's just the homeowners that are bringing a pickup truckload of brush, that's one thing. But now, when you get, commercial loads, contractors bringing in large trucks of brush, we may need to take another look at the brush.
The other thing is, was your Thursday meeting with Lakes Region canceled?
That was canceled, it was on Monday, and none of us could make it on Monday. Everybody either had a medical or doctor's appointments, and none of us could make it. But I'm gonna get in touch with Paige and the people and find out how that works.
Thank you for a good year. Good luck this year.
Yeah.
So on the brush, you don't have that on your calculation here.
No.
So we need to take a look at that. I mean, I see it a little bit like the CD. I know you are convinced that all of your CDs coming from Tuckerville. I'm less convinced of that.
Right.
The other thing, if they're just if contractors are avoiding cost by pushing the cost onto the town in general, that's not right either.
Right.
So, I mean, hiring a chipper to chip brush isn't an outrageous amount of money usually.
Right,
So
it's
if you've got big loads of brush coming in, where are they coming from? I mean, who's doing that?
well, people have their properties cleared, or I know, like just up the street from me, the guy had a couple trees taken down, and ends up with all the limbs and the other stuff that's under 6 inches. The guys bring it up to us because that's the cheapest place to get rid of it. If not
Well,
the
it's not
only
the-
place.
it's-
I don't
it's
know.
not the-
I don't know of any other places.
It's
they
not
can
the
go.
only way to get rid of brush.
I know.
Right.
And burn it.
So you can burn it, you can chip it, you can do any number of things. with it.
And as you know, a lot of the tree guys chip it and haul the chips away.
Right.
So.
Right. So these are the guys underneath them that are doing private jobs
Right.
for individuals.
Right.
They don't have a chipper.
Right.
They don't have the stuff. They're cutting the limbs off, stacking them up in the truck, and the tree trunk and that goes elsewhere.
Right.
But the rest of it comes to us. And it's off of private property. It's it's not a commercial business or.
Well, we may have to get into the same sort of situation that we do with CD.
We do it
You know,
It ought to be an operation that funds itself. If we're paying to have this stuff hauled away, then
Totally
we
agree.
gotta make sure that what we're collecting
Is
in
enough to haul it
fees
away.
is enough to cover the cost of having it hauled away.
Yep.
And if that, at such a level that then the guys that are doing this stuff say, well, it makes more sense to have it go directly someplace else, that's fine.
Right.
There's no benefit to the town to having brush brought to the transfer station. I mean, it's a waypoint for it on its way to its final destination.
Right.
That's that is convenient for residents, but to Chip's point, we don't want to be shifting the
Function of it.
the cost of disposing of it from the person that's disposing it to
The taxpayer.
all the, everybody that pays taxes.
Exactly.
And it may be that you do say, okay, pickup truckloads are fine, without big tall sideboards,
Right.
so that the homeowner can bring his brush in and that's done.
That,
Well, if the contractor wants to bring it in a pickup truck load at a time, they're gonna pretty quickly figure out that that's not a very cost-effective way to do
Exactly.
things.
Yeah.
exactly.
So,
So
anyway, okay, so we'll keep an eye on that.
that would be my primary recommendation, is to adjust the pricing accordingly.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
So you can take a look at it, put some recommendations together, and then we can review it.
mhm.
I think that would be.
Yeah, it's gonna take a little while, because basically, in order to get a good idea of how many loads that we're gonna go through, like, Christmas trees dumped off, okay, Christmas trees are dumped off. Now, there's gonna be a lull in
Until
brush
spring cleanup
till spring cleanup.
and storms.
Right, and storms. And so we're not going to have a lot of historical data that's accurate.
So it might take more than a year.
It's going to take a little bit to get that study to be precise enough, where I would feel comfortable recommending something.
Anything else for Mr. Clay?
No.
Thanks for playing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good day.
You too.
It's not quite 10.
It's not
So,
quite fun.
did you want to see if Jack's here?
Sure.
Would you mind?
What's this about Brown Road?
There's just something that was filed by other party. I don't think we need to, you saw.
The rocks.
Huh? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
You saw that.
unless, I did. I don't know if he wants us to make a recommendation or make a decision about the width or the survey. So I guess if we needed to do that, then we probably should go into non-public.
Yeah.
We should probably go into non-public for legal anyway, because
Yeah.
we've got another
3 or 4 different issues.
Yeah, just to review them.
I do not see him.
You haven't seen it? Okay, and the police guys aren't here?
Do I have Jack's cell phone?
I just want to say it.
Huh?
I have it if you don't.
Why don't you just send him a text?
Yep, yep.
If you will.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do the correspondence. We've got a letter here that went out to the 2 warrant article applicants, the one for Willand Road and the one for Farm Pond Road.
Yep.
Just giving them our reasons for not recommending, or not voting on the warrant articles.
Well written.
Um, Okay, and then Skip Hurd sent back his prepared remarks. We can look at those. Oh, they're here. I don't know if you've all read them.
Yeah.
And I met him at the store the other day and just reiterated the fact that we'd like him to ask us if we're in favor.
Yeah.
And then we can respond.
Excuse me, before you go past that one.
We need the flag in here.
No. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna ask you, he asked if you had any changes, and he also asked if you'd like him to have a reworded amendment on hand for town meeting.
No, I think
Any
we
comments?
need to probably put that together ourselves as far as amending it.
Yes,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
attorney recommended an amendment,
Right.
basically, that crosses all the
I
Ts.
mean, we're not precluded, if the warrant article passes the way it's written, we're not precluded from bringing conditions forward.
Correct.
It's just a little,
But as we are on both roads. And they're just,
So you'll have language for him at town meeting, okay? I'll let him know.
okay, and then Verizon's gonna do site walks for whatever reason.
Yeah, is that okay with you folks?
Sure.
For Sodom Road and the fire station, okay?
They
I figured it
can-
would be.
They can walk around all they want.
Yeah, okay.
It's not posted.
Yeah, my understanding is if they select a particular location that they say, this is where we want to put the tower, then from that location, they can provide a projection of what it will do to the cell signal.
That's correct, and they want
Right.
to come back to you well prepared and letting you know what
Right.
those results would be.
and
So,
like
yeah.
any tower, there's a planning board procedure, right?
Yep.
Okay, and then we got a letter from the State Department of Revenue, giving us our tax equalization formula all done. We're at 101%.
No,
which is
100.1.
100.1, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Could I have a copy of that, Karen?
Sure.
And hopefully we'll stay there. Interesting aside, there's a movement in Maine called, I think it's called Dark Store Initiative or something like that, where the large retailers are all trying to get the assessed value to be that of the vacant store, unused, as opposed to
Yes.
what we do here in New Hampshire, which is based on the commercial activity of the stores. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how they make out with that, but that would really, when you take a place with just a Walmart, for instance, which
With all
really,
the infrastructure and
yeah, really kill the tax rate. And then a lot of information on Carroll County broadband. The next meeting is on Thursday. Once again, on Thursday, I'm out.
I didn't bring the article in, but there's a move afoot that within 2 years, there'll be enough satellites up to provide broadband.
Yeah, well, that's
I'll
according-
believe it when I see it.
Yeah, according to the, I forget the name of the company, they put up 600 last week. But it's still based on visibility. And then you still have to move the information around. It's sort of like when they have you have DirecTV, but then you have DirecTV broadband. Yeah, the signal coming down is great, it's wicked fast. But now you gotta transmit your signal back 25,000 miles into space. That's a little slower.
One more thing.
Sure.
Well, one more thing for correspondence, I didn't mean to interrupt you. There was a thing about the CDBG wanting to come for a site visit, but it's Monday, which is our holiday, but
Monday's holiday again?
I know,
They're
huh?
like
These couple-
Hindus, for God's sake. They're holidays every week.
Yeah.
Did you folks, do you want them to be scheduled? Do you want to go? Do you?
What's she wanna do?
She wants to see, she invited the selectmen to go on the site visit Monday for the CDBG. And I honestly don't know if it's a requirement or not, perhaps. She didn't state that.
Why
but-
don't we ask her if she needs to have one of us there? And if
Okay,
she
go
does,
from there.
I'm in town, I'll walk around.
Okay.
On Monday? Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, correspondence is done. Selectmen's updates, anything?
Ag Commission had their monthly meeting last Tuesday, and they're transitioning the community garden to permanent walkways between the plots. It's been an ongoing issue, you know, I mean, they're staked out with walkways in between, but
Like tomato plants are invading your
well,
corn.
you know, and what happens is because the walkways aren't covered with anything, it just ends up being huge weed areas. So they're gonna be, that's what I was gonna mention to Jim. They're gonna be putting down in these walkways, landscape fabric and covering them with wood chips.
How's that gonna affect turning the soil?
So then the individual plot renters will turn their own soil over or not turn their soil over.
Is that, I mean, if we run that by the voting public, are they interested in turning their own plots over?
This is, it will be, they're having a meeting with the people that use the community garden, I want to say in April. It'll be plowed this spring, and then we're going to transition into apparently, this no-till approach has become embraced by a lot of gardeners. So to where you just, the stuff that's done, you cut it off and you plant among the material that is decomposing.
Sounds like not vacuuming your living room to me.
Yep. Anyway, that's the direction that,
So, just as a question,
Yep.
I've never participated in that particular project. Are those plots done by lottery? Or is it, how does somebody get into the garden?
there is always availability, and they come in and sign up. I think they talk to you or to Jackie.
Jackie and Heather do it. And,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people are returning people and they just want
Use
their
the
spot
same-
back.
same
Yeah.
That's a lot of it,
Yeah.
from
year
what my
after year.
understanding.
Yeah.
But it's not exhausted. In other words,
Correct.
there's
I don't know
areas-
the
No.
answer to that.
There has been a couple of extra each year.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we can always dig up some graves and turn that part of
Well,
the
there's
cemetery into a garden.
there is area around the community garden that has, from when it was developed, been available but not used. So there's
The corner lot by the
there's-
stone wall is tough to.
I mean, there's expansion plots available beyond what's been done in the past.
All right, anything from you there, Mr. Wood?
I want to word this nicely. I've been concerned that the master plan is falling by the wayside, or there's been some challenges there. So I took the liberty of asking Susan Slack what the latest is. And she said she would be starting on 2 chapters that she needs to complete. And she said that someone needs to complete 1 chapter.
Who's this you spoke with? Okay.
Lakes Region Planning.
Okay, so you went over to that
Yes.
TAC meeting?
Yeah. I realize it's volunteers and it's hard work and all that, but I went back 2018, 2019, and didn't see one penny spent administratively to get that done. So I'm choosing my words carefully, but I...
The
Go ahead.
remaining work is contracted to Lakes Region Planning. As you know, they've delayed us, I think, 3 times on getting it done. So my understanding is the latest commitment is they're gonna hand it to us in March. My sense is what's there is a small enough piece and it just doesn't get much traction in the book of work that they're working on.
I got kind of the same feeling.
Yep, absolutely. Well, unfortunately, when we started this process back whenever it was, 4 years ago, at that time, the planning board chose to, rather than contract
Hire it
to
out.
get all the
Yes.
the work done, that they would, bootstrap their way through it. And it wasn't till we got a fair amount of the way along that they recognized that some of this stuff we just don't have the
Correct.
experience and expertise to do. So by that point, we're talking about a fairly small amount of work and a relatively modest amount of money, and it's just it definitely is moving slowly.
To change the subject, what is the board's feelings on past and current job performance reviews? Are we abandoning that project, or?
No,
I mean, for example,
we had-
in January, Clay's was due, and we haven't
He
done it.
said they're done.
No, his isn't done.
Oh, I thought he
So-
just told us his.
No,
was
his
done.
anniversary date.
yes,
Oh.
so we need to do one anyway, right? Yeah.
But what about the ones from the police
I think we
department?
have-
and-
Police department, I thought were done. We haven't done Andrew. You're right.
Right.
the chief.
Right.
So, so you want to get together with Karen and put some of those on the agenda? I mean, I don't mind doing them next week. We can't do them today.
No, I have no problem doing them piecemeal, and we already have enough meetings, and it's winter, but if we did one alternate Fridays, and bang it out in 30 minutes, it's just a thought, and here again, I'm only one selectman, I have no power, I want to be a
Well, no, I think as a board, we can agree that if somebody wants, we want to put together a schedule with Karen, I'm on board with it. I think it's a great suggestion and we can get it done. I'd like to get them all done by town meeting, that would be fun.
I'll do that for you.
Great, I appreciate that.
Thank you for your understanding, guys, I appreciate it. Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Yeah, I don't know that I went to did I report on the budget hearing? You were all there.
Yes.
I thought it went fine.
Nice job, sir.
The conundrum of health insurance remains. I think Bill and I had chatted earlier about forming a committee, and that may end up having to happen. I don't want this to slide into someone else making executive decisions for elected executives, so
Bingo.
we gotta be careful about that. But other than that, I thought the budget went pretty well. I've got a copy of both this year's and last year's MS 737. We're going to compare, but I think we're within a few thousand, tens of thousands. It's pretty
It was
close.
less than inflation.
Yeah.
Well, the operating budget for 2020 is 1.6% higher than the operating budget for 2019, which is pretty darn good.
Yeah, and I think if we can put a goal together of making that happen again, but also trying to figure out what the timetable is on the police station, for instance, how we're going to do the
Yep.
equipment purchases at the transfer station, that sort of thing. And hopefully we don't have to buy too many more police cruisers. All right, our next appointment is with Alba Architects, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, and then I'll
It's
go
right
grab-
here. I'm looking at it.
I'll go grab Andy and.
Did you ever hear anything back from Jack?
He might be on his
Nope.
page.
It's got the
I think
coronavirus.
they had something.
If you're going to use those shots as illustration, I'd like to put it here so you can get the camera on.
Camera's on, she's not here, but did y'all read Larry Gill's report on the 19
Yes.
Yep.
I think we need to bring him in to when we get to creating that RFP to flesh that out a little bit.
Both he and Steve. Steve is quite the steadying influence.
I don't know.
And he's dealt with bigger projects than this.
Right now, so.
Okay.
Well, I think, Steve's got a lot on his plate.
Yeah.
I think if we get Larry in.
Take them out of the.
Sure.
Yep.
How was it traveling?
Stay.
I guess so.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, windows, that's.
Hey guys, see ya.
Welcome back, sir.
All right.
I'll let you present
All right, we're with Chief of Police and Alba Architects for a presentation of the Hope Police Station. I don't know if the chief has brought you up to speed on the budgeting, but we budgeted more money for a continued design effort and also a warrant article for additional capital to go into a reserve account for building the project. But at the end of the day, it didn't look as though we were gonna get it done in 20. So I think we're pushing it to 2021. But at least we can get, we need to have a few more public, information sessions, if you will.
Right.
And try to accumulate some more capital so we're not going way into debt on this thing. But I know the chief had some input, which in your back and forth, you thought it might be a little early in the game for insulation and that sort of thing. But I think there's input from a lot of different fronts on what you've got here
Right.
and what might need to have some alteration.
Okay. I assumed that we were going to be going through the report and
Yeah.
finalizing that. I'm happy to take your lead.
There we go. Thank you. All right, I think we've established that the site's going to be the Dearborn lot.
Right.
And have you guys looked through this?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Anything jump out at you there, Lloyd?
Yes, 4 things I'd like to address. First of all, the heating system. I can't understand it. And I agree with my brothers here, and I'll give you the history. The fire station has had a conundrum with a state-of-the-art system. It's like building a spaceship to Mars. It's been nothing but a money pit. I will make the opinion that I would prefer to have something a little more reliable, less futuristic, and I don't know who to talk to about understanding what's happened with that system there is it does multiple things, and if this transistor goes out or that fuse blows, it takes the fire chief away from being a fire chief. Do I make sense?
Yes, although I would say that regardless of the technology as far as the fuel or type of system, the control systems for everything are getting more and more complicated, and if something goes down in the control system, it doesn't matter if it's a boiler or a furnace or a heat pump, there's going to be problems with it. So that's always a weak link.
Well, then I'll continue to investigate that on my
Well,
own.
and I would just offer, my observation is that it seems to me in situations where you take the newest technology, the absolute highest efficiency heating systems, those are the ones that tend to be less reliable and have more problems. So in other words, if we're looking at, if we're embracing a system that has been in use for, let's say, 10 years as opposed to one that just came out last year, the likelihood that we're going to have issues with it is less, because over time those things have been, they figured out where there's, you know, gee, I use aluminum heat exchanger instead of a stainless steel one or whatever, and it's calcifying, or it's, you know, or this particular control is got some reliability issues. Now, that I don't know whether that's been your experience or not. This is, but as I look at situations where we as a society have problems with these things, whether it be a homeowner or an institutional use, it just seems to me that going for that last 2 or 3% of efficiency out of the heating system ends up costing in terms of repair cost and reliability, dependability, and that just sort of instructive to me. And I, you know, just an observation.
Yeah.
So, with respect to, we all want to be energy efficient, but the first place where we want to put energy efficiency money is in the envelope, making sure that the structure is as energy efficient as we can make it. Extra insulation, airtightness, that kind of thing.
Right, and that's certainly that's par for the course for everything we work on. The building envelope is always designed above code, going to what might be a couple of 2 or 3 code updates from now. We don't go by the minimum code requirements. So the building envelope, windows, insulation, roof, walls, floor, that would be, regardless of the heating systems or cooling systems that we're proposing, that would be a given on the envelope. The lighting, LED lighting, pretty much throughout, that's a proven technology now.
And what we're looking at today, by the time we build this, even if it's just next year, it's going to be different and better, typically. And
right, and we're not really proposing anything that I would consider cutting edge. Air source heat pumps have been around for a while.
right,
They're not quite as efficient as water source heat pumps, but more reliable and a lot easier for maintenance purposes.
well,
And more cost efficient
Right,
these
the
days.
big issue with the water source heat pump is the installation cost is huge.
Right. And trying to find somebody to fix it. I can tell you from
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
So the air source heat pumps are definitely an easier issue to deal with. There's more companies that install them, deal with them. But having said that, if you feel that's just a bridge too far as well, we've done systems which are hybrids where the air source system is only designed to go down to a certain temperature, and then you have 100% backup, as well as when it drops below that temperature with a more conventional propane boiler or something like that. And the boiler, either one of those systems can be relatively small, because 99% of the time they're going to be working together, or they're only going to have to work for a lower load. It would only be in an extreme case where the air source heat pump goes down and the boiler has to function all by itself, then it would be pushed to the limit, but it would still be able to keep the building warm, if not as warm as you wanted. And then in doing that, you also have the opportunity of cooling. With a heat pump, you can't do cooling any other way unless you get into chiller units, and I don't think you want a water tower in the back of the building. But certainly, if you have input on how you want to see the mechanical system built, we can address that.
Yeah, we may not be in agreement on how that ends up going down. I mean, I tend to be a little more forward thinking. I don't care what the best system is for 2020. This building's going to be there until 2070. We need to address, electrical sources. We need to address heating. And we need to balance this thing out. I mean, if we're going to depend on propane or oil, I think we're not doing this public service at this juncture. Onto the building, I guess my concerns or questions are, we've got, and I didn't measure it out, but you got a conference roll call room, a conference EOC room, a squad room, a fitness center, and a locker room. One, two, three interview spaces. It just seems like there's an awful lot of repetition here. Whether or not it's, the squad room and the break and roll call room, I think that's duplicitous. And if you combine that with a conference EOC room, now you've got 3 spaces that are all doing about the same thing, in my mind. And I don't see, and so that's one concern of mine. The next concern I have is that you've got the chief's office and a super deputy office or a sergeant's office, and that's it. I don't see any other office space for patrolmen.
That's the squad room.
So this is office, the squad is office space for the,
Yeah, it'll have
Right.
it'll be
Okay,
Desks and
desks around it. Kind of like, was it Lee when we went down there, Madbury?
yeah,
They had like one room for the officers, and
okay.
there's two, the sergeant, the supervisor, and the chief have separate offices, but everybody else has a shared office space.
Can I address the multiple interview rooms?
Sure.
You pick up a carload of 3 people. You have to have sight and sound separability with juveniles and men and women, correct?
Yeah, one of them, the one in the front,
You only have 4 officers, including yourself. So there's no way in the world you're gonna do 3 interviews simultaneously. It just isn't
No,
gonna
no,
happen.
that's not what I'm
But
saying.
you're gonna hold somebody, at least one of them, in a holding cell. I mean, it just seems like it's,
so the one in the front is so that it's also like a safe room if somebody comes in
right.
and they need to be able to secure themselves from
Just
another
off the
person.
lobby.
Just off the lobby.
Yeah.
Officers could meet there. I think Lee had that when you walked in the
Yes.
doors to the right there. The other one towards the booking area is if you have somebody under arrest, because you're not going to truck them through the PD to interview them out front by the lobby. That would be for the bail commissioner to meet with somebody. That'd be a private area in the secure area, if you will. That other interview room is for people that processing area. That's that booking area, that interview area there is for suspects. It's for bail commissioner to meet with defendants before bailing them, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because they can't be marched through the office space. The break room you're talking about back there, that's where we would sit to eat.
Right.
I'll be glad to make my notebook available from IACP. It's a white notebook like this.
I mean, what do you,
And it articulates how many square feet you need and why you need these different functions separated.
this is how many square feet total?
4,300, something like that.
4,300?
I'm glad you remembered that.
Well, I was looking at the report the other day, yesterday, but, I just saw, where is it? Danville is looking at a new police station. It's 5,600 square feet. It's like 2.6 million on the budget, on their warrant this year, I guess, so. And they're not a whole lot bigger than us, so. I mean, so some of it's to keep, your break room, it's where our, where we could have, a couple people could eat without having to be at their desks.
Is it,
I have a microwave and a small refrigerator there for their food.
can I address a couple other things as
Sure.
well? The obviously we weren't designing this based on current staffing levels. If this is supposed to last for 20, 40 years, we need to incorporate some degree of expansion within it.
Right.
Further to that, the conference room and fitness area, if that becomes the EOC, there's federal money for that. So, but to achieve that federal money, you have to have that space be able to be standalone, where the emergency services can gather, and you're not taking over space that the squad room would serve or the break room, whatever.
Right.
And it just so happens that the fitness space could also fit in there most of the time when the conference room doesn't need to be that big. So it's as I say, it's federal money, which is going to help you maximize on both your ability to increase staffing levels, but also to serve the current needs, which the
And that's
town
the only
would have to
direction
go.
you're gonna go for expansion anyway.
Well, if there needed to be a longer term further expansion, then yeah, it would come out that end of where the fitness room is.
Yeah, I mean, you could maybe come up with that, but that would be a little more difficult. Where you change the Sally ports around all that. So, is any other part of the building, does any of it qualify for the AOC grant money?
Yeah, effectively, you need a toilet facility, and really what the sort of beige coloring, right from the front door of the admin through to the increased EOC, you can get money for all of that because that's all required to provide an EOC.
And how much of the 4,600 square feet is that?
I don't know offhand, but I would venture it's somewhere around 25%.
It's about 1,200 square feet. Yeah. 11. And what portion of the cost of that 1,100 square feet, let's say, is in the form of grant, typically?
It's different from project. Our last project was a renovation in Thornton, so it was a smaller percentage, but it covered things like the complete cost of the generator. It covered a lot of the telecommunication services, which wouldn't have otherwise been in the building,
Right.
but also served the police department. To some degree, it can cover some of the finishes. I wouldn't say it covers the lion's share, but literally it would cover a portion of everything from the front door to that space.
Right.
And it would help offset the cost of target hardening, making bulletproof windows and walls.
Is that grant typically a percentage of the cost of that part of the facility?
Yes, yeah, it's not a cost of the whole facility.
No, I
It's just-
understand
yeah.
that, but, and I, from what you said before, understand that it's not always the same. It all depends upon where the funding levels are. Is that Is that right?
To some degree, yeah. Like any grant, if there's a lot of applications and not sufficient funds for everybody at that point. But I think it's less dependent on that because it is coming from a different kitty, as it were. It's not like L-SHIP or any of these other historical grants.
Yeah. So is it typically more than half that piece of the cost, or less than half of that piece of the cost?
I'm gonna plead the fifth on this one. Stuart's a little more up to date on that, so I don't want to give you a number.
But does you guys handle that, or do we have to do that in-house here?
No, we would be working with the CM or whoever, the builder that comes on board, so that we can put together the package for the application. And like I said, there's no way to know for sure what the percentage is going to be until you've made the application. But it's not so dependent on grants that have a tendency to be totally unpredictable or unreliable. It's federal money that is set aside for the specific purpose.
So I'm jumping around here a little bit, but I'm guessing that this dotted line outlining the admin lobby area.
Yeah, that's where the bulletproofing.
That's all bulletproofing?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I don't know, it seems like a bit cave-like, and I don't know whether or not we need to change up the lobby a little bit to make it a little more welcoming. And this is all to code, even though the squad room doesn't appear as though it's got any other exit other than one.
Well, that's I think one of the things I'd mentioned about was where we could have other. We talked about maybe putting. I think I said something about having a door in that hallway too, but that would also cut into your counter space that you would have for the
Right.
squad room. But that is obviously something to think about.
Yeah.
But
Well, most of the spaces only have one access to them.
But some of them, if they're on an exterior wall, you might have a window you could go out to.
Yeah.
Does make sense to have two doors.
But
And I'm wondering if you don't reverse this and this. With the fingerprinting and small evidence up into this space here. Put the squad room onto the break room. And
Well, the interior layout, for the most part, that you presented can move around quite a bit without having a real impact on the project. I mean, as long as it's done as it's being designed, right?
Right.
So-
Yeah. Change orders are where expenses start to add up.
Right.
And the pricing that's been done to this point, again, it's a little bit more than square foot rate, but we're still in that sort of budgeting range. So if we're not changing the building substantially in size, there's a lot of wiggle room still. This is really still just a schematic plan.
And we're still slab on grade. You feel that's the most efficacious design?
Yeah, there's not really any opportunity in this site to have anything but a basement here.
Okay.
And arguably it's interior space that costs less because you're putting in a frost wall to drop down another 4 feet and put in a slab at a lower level. But if it's not real desirable space, there is expense associated to it that isn't necessarily a good use of money. You drop your frost walls another 4 feet, you drop your concrete slab 8 feet, then you have to put a whole new flooring system in over that. So there are additional costs to have that basement, and it really would serve storage. And obviously we want to be on one level. We want the easiest way to address ADA requirements. Once you put it in a lower level, if it isn't accessible from the outside, or an elevator, which is extremely expensive for a 2-story building, it has limited use.
I have a couple things. I'll go with the easiest one first. I'd like to see the building relocated so that the snow plow can come through, plow around the building like they do at the transfer station. The second thing is that parking is needed in that section of town. It can be used for overflow for the library, town meeting. If you push the building back a little bit, now you may have to work with the state and put the culvert in over on the left-hand side. There's enough acres there to accommodate.
I'm not trying to be argumentative with respect to library parking, but the addition that's going in on the library right now includes a lot of additional parking to address, in my memory, the needs of the library. So I'm wondering if the need for overflow parking for the library across the street isn't already being addressed as part of the current project that we're doing at the library. My recollection is the size of the parking lot that they put in with the addition was sufficient to handle the need, even when the meeting room was full back there.
And there are a few other issues as far as site access.
Sorry, I thought there was an easel here and there wasn't, so.
There's no easy out back?
Oh, was it out back? Someone told me it was in the.
We were trying to make plowing for this as easy as possible so that you could, there wouldn't be any curbing for a good portion of this. The curbing would be in this area. But the plow could still come in. We're putting the vehicle lockup back here, which could easily be relocated if that expansion ever happened. I'm guessing that you meant you wanted to see a loop.
Yes.
We're really, the grade starts to drop off quite a bit over here. Right. So when you start, if we need to push it further over to get a loop around, it's going to become a lot more expensive to develop this area. Alternatively, we rotate the building back, which is more like a previous version, which the select board decided wasn't desirable. So it's a bit of a compromise. It is a big site, but short of pushing everything much further back, having a lot longer access road to address. We felt that this was
How
a more
close to
efficient.
the northwest lot line are you? Up on the top. The shaded area that you've got marked out there, is that the setback or?
Yeah, that's the boundary line. That's the setback.
Okay.
There's another 20 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move on. I've been involved in 4 police stations, and this is a very functional and sane approach. I have a couple of tweaks. First of all, would you consider making it so it can be secured, but the fire station, it allows an entrance to the mechanical room from the outside.
Yeah, that would.
Okay. Next thing is your target hardening. I'm glad to see that, thank you. Squad room, 2 doors you've already mentioned. You mentioned the windows. The meeting room. The meeting room is a room that's multitask, not just for meetings, but a staging area for police and whatnot. And I'd like to make a suggestion. Would you consider allowing for, and this is what they've done at the fire station, is you can go to the meeting room without affecting the hazardous material area or the garage area. Those doors can be locked off. And my thought is have an exit to the outside. I just tossed that out. The other thing
From
is
where, Floyd? I'm sorry.
to the meeting room.
This one?
Yes. If you have an EOC, you have people coming in, it's not interfering with the operation of the police station. The EOC could go on and the police officer could leave and the station is open to them.
So you're saying put a door on the end of the building at the EOC end?
Yes,
Okay.
to consider it. And the technology is there so that doors can be reinforced and locks and stuff like that. The last thing is, I'd like to read this into the record. At a recent Board of Selectmen meeting, there was a brief discussion about solar energy being used to power our new police station. Interestingly, at the school district deliberative session on February 1st, there was an interesting presentation on the construction of a solar panel array being funded for Effingham Elementary School. It's called a Solar Power Electric Generating Project. Questions were answered by Jack Bingingham. His company has 4 similar systems in New Hampshire and Vermont. His company signs a lease purchase agreement with the customer. Power that is generated and is used in the building receives a credit savings at the utilities retail rate. Surplus power produced receives a credit of 75% at the retail rate. There are no startup costs. The contract can allow for a lease purchase at any time. Pass that down to Karen. Thank you. Obviously, I'd like to see the building, if not solar energy soon, at least, and I'm piggybacking on his comments about future power issues. Thank you.
Well, they did include a cost breakdown on that of $68,000 for a 20 kW photovoltaic. I'm assuming that's a ground mounted.
That actually there was a misunderstanding between ourselves and Coville. That doesn't include the ground mount, but the percentage increase for ground mount would not be that large. But our interpretation is that a ground mount would be a more appropriate solution in this issue, because firstly, if you want it on the building, you've got to orientate the building specifically for the solar gain.
You got to change the roof.
And secondly, it just, things start to get complicated.
Excuse me, not if you use the field out back.
That's what we're
That's
talking
ground
about.
That's what I'm saying, that's a ground
Ground
mount.
mount, yeah.
That's a ground mount.
Yeah.
If you want to use the roof of the building and put your solar panels on, then the building has to be orientated to maximize solar gain. And that was tying us into a layout on the building that didn't suit what we felt was the proper site development. And I'd say we've presented a couple site layouts to you, and the feedback that we had gotten from the previous one is what drove us towards this particular site layout. And we did have the building actually slightly different, which would have been able to somewhat address the solar panels, but it wasn't ideal at that point either.
My recollection with this site is we got an old pit out back that from the slope and the orientation of it would be a reasonable place to put a ground mount.
Yeah, it's a big enough site where, obviously you have to clear trees. You want to maximize on the solar exposure, which will have impact. The closer to the street you do that, the more impact it has on the overall presentation of the site. So getting a ground mount as far back as possible out of the way, it allows for both further expansion should funding come up, and it makes it has less impact on the area that you want to use for the building and the parking and whatnot.
And as I'm sure you know, what makes the solar arrays attractive is the free money. And most of that free money is in tax credits. And the only way that the government agency can take advantage of that is through this sort of thing that the school district is doing, which is that private company does the development, they get the tax advantage, and then sell the power to the town.
Right. The continuation of tax credits is probably one of the most unpredictable things for grant money at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, they're dropping down to 26% this year, and then 22%, and then it's depending on November's election, I'll probably go away altogether. But I think it's still imperative that we
Look at it.
I think we really need to start thinking about the people that come after us. And
That's
I'd have to look at the
So what we need to do is put a
purchase.
little nuclear unit there. Well, the technology's there, it's just not being implemented at this
Yeah.
point.
If we had a big new 3 unit up there in the sky, we could just use that one. So we're like old women, we're gonna change your design a few dozen times before you get to build anything. I'd like to utilize the town meeting as a public forum, if that's okay with you. Can you guys, one of you people be there?
Mhm.
Okay.
What is it?
It's March,
Oh, it's on the warrant, actually, right?
It's March 11th.
March
Yeah,
11th.
No, March
The Wednesday. It's on the warrant.
Wednesday.
That should be the 10th.
Voting is on Tuesday, town meeting is on Wednesday.
Yeah, right, March 11th,
Begins at 7.
7 PM at the,
Right.
over at the school.
And I think we could probably talk to the moderator and maybe get them in and out early.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's not gonna, there'll be some question and answering, but I think if we can get a feeling from the crowd what they want as far as public input, and then we'll schedule some public meetings later in the day, but at least this brings them right up to speed on what we've gotten done so far. The warrant's gonna explain to them, and we'll explain to them during the presentation how we're funding this project.
Would you look for us just to be there to answer questions, or
Yeah.
so you'll do the presentation yourself?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Do you want something on digital format?
I think these will do, if we'll just put them up on some,
Easels, yeah.
Easels?
yeah.
Mm,
We
Do
don't,
you have easels?
yeah.
Someplace.
The
Not that
room-
we're here, but
The
we'll
room that
find
we
them.
do town meeting in really isn't well set up to do a digital presentation. It's a gymnasium.
Yeah, it's just up here at the school.
Someone will be there, right? One of you people will be there.
Yeah, that's
That's
what
what he's
yeah,
asking.
Yeah. I'm noticing that the boards, the drawings are kind of pulling away from the boards a little. The adhesive didn't work. If it gets any worse, give us a heads up and we'll
Okay.
fix it.
And anything you might want to bring with you would be fine if you want to do a handout. I wouldn't get way into the prices with them, but if, floor plans, etc. Sure. We're going to
Well,
always
if
have,
you look for guidance from you, whatever you
Okay,
think
we'll
is suitable,
come
if
up
you
with
get back to us.
something.
Yeah.
yeah, it's not till the
So
2nd
I
of
think
March.
a couple of things. One was the orientation, which you talked about that, is orienting it for how is it going to be on the roof, the photovoltaic, but
Right.
whatever. The other thing I had was with the heating. The one thing I picked up is 3-phase. The pump on that, the compressor,
Right.
the heat pump. That's the only thing that would require 3-phase in the building, though, right?
Yes.
So what they found at the fire station, I think, was that having 3-phase was fairly expensive each month because the co-op charges you a fee.
Right.
But that was one of my concerns with,
But that was the,
Testing.
that, the real expense, 3-phase is more expensive than single-phase, but it was the user group that it fell into. And the reason it was so high was because of the fire pump. Okay?
Right.
So the only time we use the fire pump is once a year when we, because there's a sprinkler system. When it's tested once a year. But it becomes usage, so it bumps you up into a higher
So
fixed cost or higher monthly cost bracket.
so by using this all year, though, it should be cheaper?
No. So what we did with the fire station, once we identified that it was only once a year that we hit this, is they only test it when they have the generator running, and they're offline. So we don't get up into the higher user, and we've brought their user fee back down. So anyway, one of the issues is when you get a good size heat pump system, you got to be 3-phase. It
Right.
just doesn't.
Right.
And we're gonna have to meet with the co-op at some point in time. I know that they're starting up or I've heard that they're going to be starting up a storage program with these solar arrays. And some different forward-looking plans that the co-op might have. And we need to figure out what we're gonna do. Is there an easier way or a different way to power this up?
That was just my thought, was, is that gonna bump our monthly electric bill up significantly that would offset any savings?
Yeah,
We could
it's a
see.
good thought, and
Well, it's-
we can, I can sit down with you separately and go back and look at,
We could do a heat
What the
study
difference is.
on this design too, and I'm sure that whatever the cost increase of three-phase power for a heat pump is not gonna be more than the cost of heating it with forced hot air furnace.
That's the only thing I thought of, was I knew
from
they
our
got hit.
experience, yep, yep.
And that's the only thing I
No, it's
caught
a
on
good
that.
thought. I think we'll review that and,
And another reason to have some alternative energy is, you know, you can offset some cost with creation of energy. So.
Well, I think it's a good question either way. We'll go back to the engineers and see if there's any way we can make this work on a single phase.
Yeah.
We've done it at the, well, hopefully we'll be doing it at the Living Museum soon. It's almost the same system, and they're not doing a three-phase.
It's probably.
I just know it was
the
a
same
shock.
size.
I just know it was a shock to when the fire department got their bill and they found out that it was the three phase having it was a big part of that. So I just was something that came to my mind.
Only thing is, think as trained firemen, they wouldn't be easily shocked.
With all that protective gear,
And,
right?
and when we get to the next design development phase, we'll do an energy model, again, what we did with the Libby, and their annual electrical use was about $13,000 a year, including all heating and cooling. So it is a,
Just $1,000 a month for heating, cooling, and electrical.
yeah.
But they also have a unique environment with their exhibits.
Right, they have to have a completely conditioned space that stays consistent throughout the year,
Right.
which wouldn't be as demanding.
And they're
as a police
limited in,
station.
I mean, we still have some design elements that we can tweak to reduce our costs.
Right.
It's just a matter of whether or not the cost of reducing is more expensive than not reducing. I know that we, I don't know if it was here with the, no, it wasn't here. It was here with the public safety building, so that was before the fire department, when it was a combined building.
Yep.
That architectural group actually did a cost analysis. You know, if you went with super insulated walls, what's the cost of the construction versus the savings? How does that pay out? So there's still some, I'm sure you've got the same.
Right, yeah, they'll do an energy model for the
Algorithms.
usage, and then
Right.
based on a code compliant facility, and then they do it again for what
Right.
we would be proposing. And then if you want to take it the next step forward to upgrade
Right.
the envelope even further, then they could do it. And then they could compare the various systems that would be available.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna end up having to do that just because of our demographic. You know, it's a lot of older folks like Lloyd and I who think we know more than we do. I want to give you all this advice. We're not the only ones, it's 3,000 more than out there in Tuftonboro. Anything else, Chief, that you
You're the
wanted
young
to?
fella.
Those are the two things that came to my mind. And I just, the sizing of the generator too, I mean, it seems, I don't know, I didn't know how, was it due to, it seemed pretty big, but I didn't know if that was because we had the large heat pump that has to be done. And I guess that goes back to, is your generator, I don't know that much about electricity, that in generators, three-phase versus single-phase, does that require a special generator that, you know, because it's three-phase?
Sure.
I
Yeah,
think so.
there would cost some implications all the way along. And certainly, having a generator size that can run a heat pump is definitely more costly than a generator that would run a propane boiler. So there's going to be capital costs that,
Right,
for every choice.
right. Yeah, and a lot of that's gonna get offset though, hopefully. If
Right,
you get some federal money.
right, and also this solar will offset some of the electric costs,
Yeah,
we hope.
hopefully.
So when the
Yeah,
sun
it's-
shines,
It's working, it's working all around the county. I don't know why it wouldn't work for us.
Another reason for a ground mount system is, I say with my house is covered in snow right now, so I'm getting no benefit of my solar panels.
Well, that'll give your officers something to do. If it's ground mount, they can get out there with brooms and clean it up. All right, anything else? Board of Selectmen?
Nice job.
Okay, so we'll look forward, I'll have Karen get back to you with whatever things we might like you to bring to town meeting, and then if there's anything in particular we need, we'll just do it by email. That sounds good.
Okay, yeah, and I say if he's getting any worse, just let him know and I'll pick him up. I'm down this area frequently anyway. They seem to be okay at the moment, but they're not as good as when I did it.
Well, we didn't get you to build a model, so that's gonna have to do.
Right.
Nice job, thank you for coming down. Yeah. Travel safe.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you again.
Thanks.
Should I put these over there someplace so they're not against the heat?
Sure.
That's it?
Yep. No problem.
All right, anything else from the chief while he's here?
Welcome back, sir.
Come behind you, so I'm not.
And now we go to Jack Parsons.
Right. So, we have 11 building permits, 2 new houses, I've done 38 inspections. The lights on this building are all set, the switches in, they're just gonna add one more light up in this corner. It's a little dark here, you couldn't get to it yet, but the timer's all in, it's a little easier to run, seeing you gotta push one button, that's it, so.
So they're not solar, or, light sensitive or whatever, they'll come on automatically.
No, because then they come on all night long if someone drove around the building or animal walked by, so. There's a timer across the way, it's 4 minutes to 4 hours. You just push a button and they're on. The only light that's not on that timer is this canopy. I left it separate just in case someone needs just to clean it out, so.
I wanted to pay you a compliment. You've worked very hard the last year and I have to get all these generators and who's the electrician you've worked with?
Scott Thompson.
And let me tell you, it's been a nice marriage.
He does a good job.
But thank you for your efforts. You've worked with him and he appreciates your style. So nice job.
Yeah, how's everything else going? How's our window project?
Good, I mean, just they can't do it right now and I actually brought someone in to look at the cupola.
Okay.
So he's gonna get back to you with a price, so. That'll give me a start.
A lantern.
So.
Okay.
I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the architectural concept on the police station.
Just now.
Yeah, but
Only was with the specs, because the chief had them yesterday, they looked at it with him. And one of my concerns, like I say, was the 3-phase and the
Yeah.
size of the diesel generator, not propane, so.
yeah, that probably makes sense to propane it.
Yes and no, a lot of the bigger ones, they go diesel because they have more horsepower.
And it may be a cost difference too, I mean, we could look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know,
But in terms of, just looking at the layout and stuff like that, any things that come to your mind would be
Well,
helpful to us.
I mean, the solar is good if you're gonna go with the heat pumps. The only downfall to solar right now is it goes back to the co-op and they give you credits.
Right.
Well, the power company can say, we don't want your power anymore at any time. And then you're gonna deal with what solar you get during the day and that's it. The rest of it's just without backup, and then backup for a system like this is huge money, batteries and all that, so. I mean, it's great, but you're at the mercy of the co-op just because of that.
well, you're not really, I mean, there's laws and regulations regarding the need for, and it's gonna get more and more.
Oh, it will, yeah.
I mean, if we're looking at 35 or 40% renewable energy in the state of New Hampshire, they can't
Right.
refuse it. The other thing is if you need the co-op if you're not gonna go into a self-sustained system.
Correct.
Because you need to have that
Oh, you
ability
need
to
it.
create the waveforms and all the rest of it.
Right.
And it's not going away. I mean,
Right.
there was a bill that just passed the British Parliament, run by Boris Johnson of all people.
Right.
They're gonna do away with all internal
Yeah,
combustion
right.
cars by
Engines, yeah.
2030.
And the
Norway's
only
doing like
issue is heat
2025.
pumps in this part of the country, it gets really cold, not real efficient.
Well, air system heat pumps aren't. The water system heat pumps are a lot more efficient, but they're more money, more
Right.
expensive
Oh,
to
yeah.
install.
Oh, yeah. Because you have storage, but,
Right.
Well, yeah, and you're not, I mean, especially if you're on radiant on slab, you're only looking at gaining, 10 or 20 degrees.
right.
And I'm gonna go from one spot to the other. How's the library project going?
Good. Yeah, they're coming right along. So, waiting for the carpet people to do their thing, and I'm sure they're on their timeline for the inside, no problem whatsoever.
And no hiccups as far as what they're doing or how they're doing it or any of that?
No, that's good.
Because if you eliminate the Sally Port, the booking room, and the holding cell from that,
Right.
that floor plan area, I don't think is any bigger than the library.
No.
And so we should, I mean, our budget's pretty close to the same.
Yeah.
And yet we've got all kinds of interior walls and 3 bathrooms and all the rest of it.
Well, that was the nice thing about the last committee that I was fortunately on, was the floor plan could be retrofitted to the old building or a new building. Your Sally Port and what you mentioned had to be added anyway, so there's continuity there.
Yeah, I was surprised at the cost coming in.
I would just make sure there's enough storage in it, that's all, because
Yeah,
the police like to collect things.
Yeah.
they do, don't they? And they,
Well, and that's a
they
good
don't have
reason for not putting a cellar in this.
They don't have a basement
Correct,
to put
so-
it in.
Right,
That's an issue.
yeah, that's right.
So you need plenty of storage.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, anything else for Mr. Parsons?
No, I already told him,
All right.
thanks.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Hope you feel better.
I'm good.
Okay, any other business before us?
Public input?
I don't want any public input. Okay, what do you got?
If you're gonna use a town meeting as a public forum, and all we have is these little things for people to look at, will you be printing a 2-sided page of the picture of the station and the rooms on one side and the building on the other? Well, you won't be putting that in our regular book, but would it be something on the
Like a
side?
handout?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's, I think, I brought that up with him.
Okay,
That
and
we
two,
might have to put something out.
this is off the cuff. If we build a holding cell in the police station, and you get a hold person overnight, so are we gonna go with that? My point is that we already paid mega millions down at the Carroll County Jail, for holding cells and booking and so on and so forth, okay? I just can see this going more than what we presently have right now. Okay, it's just a comment, that's all. That's in my mind.
It's not,
Not full-time yet.
it's not full-time, but also the holding cell is not primarily in this setting for holding someone overnight or whatever. It's so that if you have an ongoing event and you've arrested someone, and now the officer, one of the 2 officers that's on duty, needs to go back out, you've got a secure place to put that person who's been charged,
Awaiting bail.
awaiting bail, or even,
To be
yeah, if
picked
they
up.
get bailed out, or even transport to the Carroll County facility. You're not just sticking them in a closet or
It's
locking
not
them in the
overnight
bathroom.
comment.
No,
Right.
Okay, fine.
it's not a prison.
It's not a jail. It's a secure place where somebody can be detained on a
Right.
in transitory basis between when they're picked up and when they go to the county jail. It allows for a situation where instead of, my understanding is what we have now is if you have to do this, then you stop what you're doing, you got to take them up to the county jail, and check them in there, and then you can go back to doing whatever. So,
Next is the, you people spend a lot of time in meetings doing the budget, this, that, and the other thing, trying to keep the prices as low in this town as possible. We have three other things. We have the state, we have the school system, and then we have the county. And what's missing, on the side of the county, our representatives never show up here, okay? To at least give us a report once a month, say, what are you doing up there? Okay? And Jack Widmer is our treasurer, is that correct? Still a town treasurer?
yes,
But he's also in charge of the school system.
yeah,
It's not the county.
right.
No, I know he's not of the county, okay? And, you know, I just was looking at costs, that's all. So,
Their budget went down.
okay. But I haven't seen Jack for a while. This is a special request for you to have him appear at the board. We did a special meeting not too long ago. You were doing some stuff, okay? The point, I guess, is these people that are working for us or represent us and so on, at least they'll show up once in a while and say, hey, how's it going? You know?
One of them has, the other two are too busy.
Too busy. Maybe
One
they're
of
too
them
busy to
has,
run an office.
Who has?
Dr. Marsh,
He showed up at our meeting?
a couple times in the last year and a half.
Yeah, but he's not our representative.
Yeah, he is.
Yes.
Is he?
Yes,
He's the
he's one of-
Floterial district.
Yeah, he's one of our reps.
Yep.
So what about the other guy who lives in Tuftonboro?
Cordelli
Cordell.
Thank you.
is, as long as I'm on the board, he will come in.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And I've heard, yeah.
Well said.
Hopefully somebody will run against Amanda Bevard for the county commissioner, because that place is going crazy. They fired everybody, and I don't know how the hell she thinks they're gonna run the budget, the way they've got it set up, but at any rate. Anything else from the public?
No, that's it.
Any other business?
Let me just go back to what you said about the school district.
Sure.
Okay, I agree with you. They had their big budget presentation, their deliberative session
Right.
on February 1st. And as generally happens, about 0 people
Yes.
showed up.
Yes.
So that's the opportunity to engage them,
Right.
all right? Our role, our tax rate, the taxes we collect in Tuftonboro is affected by the school district and the county as well, okay? But all we are is an agent for them in collecting the taxes by law, okay? So I agree with you in terms of being engaged with them, but each of us is a member of the school district the same way we're a member of the town. So the deliberative session or the monthly school board meetings are a great place for anybody to go to understand what's going on there and to be engaged with that process.
Thank you.
And I have been a proponent of restructuring the county delegation to not be the representatives that sit in Concord, because those people are working for the state government, and they are always at cross purposes with county budgets.
Correct.
They're always trying to pass down, downshift the cost to the county taxpayer. It should be a member of every select board. You'd have 14 members, they'd go in and run the county. And then we'd have more local control over the county budget, but also more information.
Well, first of all, you've been there, you've seen it from the inside, but a county commissioner mentioned that to me in the last 2 weeks. Exactly what you mentioned. And every county has issues with the general court representatives.
Delegation.
It is cumbersome by nature.
That, I believe, requires a constitutional amendment.
It would, yeah.
I mean, that's just the way that the state is structured, so.
But right now, I mean, if you've got a rabid Republican group from Wolfboro, which you don't currently, and another one from Conway, we don't have any say at all.
Correct.
Because 2 or 3 reps isn't going to make a deal. You need to have 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So.
And well, in closing, I probably will not make the Thursday meeting of the technology drive in Conway on that thing. hopefully I'll see it on YouTube, or hopefully
Yeah,
some Valley Vision or somebody will take it. So,
yeah, I'm sure somebody will. All right, I'm gonna move that we adjourn the public session and go into non-public. 91A, :3, Roman numeral 2, parent L for legal correspondence.
I'll second.
Wood, yes.
Marcus, and yes.
All be yes.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.